y'all, welcome to Scrappin with Sheri. We are continuing on in our Christmas series of our sketchbook. Remember, we've been doing these sketchbook challenges and we're just moving right along in this. Today we're going to be doing page 22 in the sketchbook. And this one is really interesting to me. I was excited to see it in here because a couple of years ago for a virtual crop, Creative Memories actually sent me products in advance and let me do a sketch very similar to this one. This is not the one I did. The one I did had watermelons on it, I think. But I was able to complete the sketch and submit it, and they showed the video on one of the virtual crops. So that was kind of fun for me. This is actually a really easy sketch. It's a little time consuming, but very easy. And I know it doesn't look like it when you initially look at it, but I think it's going to be okay. So let's dive in. Now, I'm using papers from the Christmas Cheer collection. I'm still working with scraps, and I am really whittling these down. I do have a piece of white that I'm going to be building the base on where all these little triangles are. And this is just a cover sheet from one of the paper packs. And then my background papers are actually going to be from the Shades of Seasonal Sightings collection. So those will be my two backgrounds. I went with the green on this because I have so much red here, but this little plaid right here ties in the reds and greens. So I'm good with that. Now I have already created one of the borders so I could see what it's going to look like. And that's going to be one of the sides of the pages. And I could stop right there because it is a one-pager. But I want to show you how you make this and put this into a two-page spread. So let me slide this out of the way and we'll get to making. So again, I am using scraps, and our measurements on here tell us that we need 1.5 inch squares cut in half. And that's easy to do a couple of different ways. I tend to do this on my 12-inch trimmer just because I'm working with long lengths of paper. I did discover, and you'll see it in the sketch as well, that using an odd number of patterns is the best bet. If you use an even number, then they end up side by side, and that's just not a good look, in my opinion. So I'm going with a 1.5 inch, and then I can just slide these 1.5 inches down to the 1.5 inch here, and just slice, slice, slice. And it's pretty quick and easy to make these quickly. Now, you may have a square punch that measures 1.5 inches. And if you do, it's fine to use that as well. I just found for me, this was actually a paper saver to be able to just scoot and slice and not have to do the punching. So I've got several of those candy cane ones. And that may be enough of the candy canes. I did not count exactly how many it takes, and I probably should have done that, but oh well. We'll figure it out as we go, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and do a 1.5 inch of this plaid too. This plaid has really grown on me as I've worked on it on some of these Christmas pages. Initially, it was not one of my favorites, but it's not bad. And it's great for tying in your colors. Now again, I'm just scooting this down and sliding it to 1.5 inches right down here on the bottom of my trimmer. So I'm getting that 1.5 inch cut. And I'm just going to stop right there cutting for now because I do have a few pre-cut. And I have cut some out of the candy cane paper already as well. Now, to get them into triangles, I found for me it was easiest to use my personal trimmer rather than the 12-inch trimmer. And to do that, you can stack up several, as many as you feel comfortable cutting. And you're going to line the points up edge to edge on your cutting blade. And here again, to me, it was just easier to do this on my personal trimmer. I feel like the personal trimmer can do some heavy-duty cuts with several pieces at once. It's also easier for me to hold it there rather than trying to put my fingers underneath the edge of the arm on the 12-inch trimmer. But do what works for you. So I'm just going to cut a few of these in half. And there are patterns on the back. So, you know, if your patterns are working out, you could always flip-flop the patterns and you wouldn't have to use 3 different sheets of paper. For me, I chose specifically the patterns I wanted to show. So go ahead and cut these. And then I'm going to pull down the ones I had already cut from my candy cane stripe paper. So there are my 3 patterns. Now, initially, I thought it would be a great idea to just line it all up on my green paper and just lay them out and go with it. What I discovered, though, is this pattern against this pattern was just too much for me. So I decided to go back and make a white background. And the white background made it a lot easier for me to position these triangles. Plus, it also gave me a better look overall. And I'm pulling this page back so you can see that just having that white in between really sets this off from my green background. Now, I made myself a note that I needed to do 1/4 inch strips, 1 1/4 inch strips, because I always forget what I cut it initially, and then I have to go back and think about it again. So I'm cutting 2 1 1/4 inch strips just out of this white paper. You could use a contrasting cardstock color for this too, and I think it would be fine. I just like the cleanliness of the white, I think. So 1 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 strips together, corner to corner. And I am using my repositionable tape just because with these triangles, I'm going to need it to get my corners exactly right. All right, and this is going to be a bottom corner on my page. Not that that really matters right now, but that's where I'm headed with it. So for me, it was easier to lay out my triangles before I actually started taping, because you want to look for a couple of things. In this little edge right here, you want kind of a matchup. You don't want pieces, odds and ends here. You want full, complete triangles here. So I start with these triangles here, and I'm using the pattern. You know, I was a former kindergarten teacher, so I'm looking at the patterns. The red, the candy cane, the plaid, the red, the candy cane, the plaid. And I'm laying those out because I also want to get to the end on each side and have a full triangle at the end. And that's why I'm laying these out, just to kind of figure out my spacing. Now, if you're noticing, my candy canes, oh, there's my pattern matchup. My candy canes are kind of odd. Some go sideways, some go up and down. That is strictly the way I cut it. So if you're working with a directional pattern and that's going to bother you that they're 2 different directions, you probably need to pay closer attention to that than I did. I don't think that bothers me because that's kind of how Christmas is to me. It's a lot of patterns, a lot of glitz, a lot of lights. So you see I'm trying to get that edge in down there. And by going ahead and laying out all those patterns, I was able to see what's going to go on the end. And when I put it together, I'm actually going to mix up the way I tape them down. And you can see I went ahead and did 2 candy canes here just because I didn't want these 2 of the same to touch each other. So I kind of moved those around a little bit. Now here again, if you go with 4 patterns, you're going to end up with mixy-matchy. You're going to end up with red, 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 and it's going to look a little more uniform. By going with an odd number, you can do so much more without it being too matchy-matchy. So I'm going to start taping right here on this edge. I did bring my 0 centering ruler over to video, but in all actuality, having the white border on either side really helps you not have to measure with the ruler quite so much. And I am using my repo tape because you really need to get your corners good. You don't want the corners flying up, particularly when you're trying to put page protectors on. So if you will tape the 3 corners, the rest is going to stick pretty well. You won't have to worry a whole lot about the rest of it. And I'm just kind of looking at spacing. I'm looking at side spacing, the spacing between those 2 triangles. And you can see this one is down too low because I want these points to kind of come together right there. And there is a lot of spacing you have to manipulate on this. Here again, the repo tape is perfect for that. I'm using my silicone mat just to so I don't get tape all over my table. And if you just can't get it to have a full triangle on the end, it's not the end of the world. You can always cut it off the edge and it's okay. Not a big deal. I am trying to put these pretty close though, because I know that my spacing is going to be very limited at the end. Now, if you wanted to, you could work from the end back down to try to work on that spacing. I can show you how it works for me doing it that way, if you'd like, and then you can choose which way works best for you. Since we already had them laid out, we know basically where they're going. And again, if you watch, I'm just putting the tape really on those 3 corners, not really in the center. And we've almost finished one side. I am kind of making these triangles touch each other, edge to edge here. And we'll see how that works for spacing. What do you think? Are we going to make it? Nope. Look at that. We're going to overlap right there in the middle. You know me, though. I'll find a quick fix for that. Now, I could take these off and slide them all the way back down. I'm not going to, because I've got some embellishments. I will cover something up there to make it work. And you can see my big one is not really going to fit unless I overlap all the way here. And I think I'll do that. It'll be okay. Let's just don't panic. So that's how it worked for me, going from one end to the center. Let's try just going straight down on this side and see if that one works out any better. There's something about the way the spacing is that, I don't know, sometimes it seems to work, sometimes it doesn't. I am looking at trying to keep my border the same here and here somewhat. There again, this is such a busy pattern. I don't necessarily think little minute details are going to show a whole lot. If you are a perfectionist, this may not be a good page for you to play with. I would tell y'all to keep a check on my patterns for me, but even if you told me, it'll be after the video is already posted, and I can't do much about it at that point. I have been reading your comments. Some of you said that you don't do very many pages for Christmas. I know a lot of people don't even celebrate Christmas, but just keep in mind the sketchbook is not showing all these in Christmas patterns. And you can pull out any collection and work with this. This, again, is another great page to use up scraps of a collection. If you're like me and you try to finish a whole collection just so you can take it out of the folder it's in and add a new one to it. I like to finish one whole collection and then pull that folder out and add a new one. And I add a new collection. And as quickly as Creative Memories comes out with collections right now, boy, I'm having to empty those folders faster than ever before. What do you think about the repositionable tape? What do you think about refilling it? How quick is that? I know our old tape runners years ago, you had to wind the tape around a little wheel and move it here and there. And sometimes you got it right, sometimes you didn't. It was such a hassle. These tape runners that we've got now are just too easy. Yeah, and you can see I'm running out of space down here, and I didn't get to finish off that triangle, but it's okay. So here we have a little blurb that we're going to have to cover up. And let me just pull my trimmer again. And I'm going to cut off that little excess piece. I could do this with my 12-inch just as well. But we also have a fill-in here we need to do. And it would be with that particular triangle. So let me just go ahead and put tape on that corner of that. And we'll just cut off that excess. So we've got that one done. And here we've got just a little bitty bit showing of this candy cane. I mean, we've got a little bitty bit that we need covered for the candy cane. So I'm just going to do an edge of that. All right. So if you don't like having excess triangles, you might want to count how many you need before you get started. But we've got that already done. Now, although it looks difficult, that's a pretty quick 2-page spread. But let's look at how we can add embellishments, what we can do on my little mix-up here. And how am I going to make this a 2-page spread? Well, I'm going to use this in this bottom corner. I'm going to use the other in the upper left-hand corner. And to get these straight, I'm going to start with a corner in the corner and then move up and down from there. Now, this is where I had my little glitchy, so I'm keeping that in mind that I need to cover up a glitch. Let's go ahead and tape these. I made myself a note that it was easier to start from each end and work to the center. That obviously did not work out well for me. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, what could cause that discrepancy? And part of it is just when you're cutting that 1.5, you know, just a little glitch here and there in the sizing could make a difference in your triangles. So if you used a punch for it, you would obviously be more exact on all of them being the same size. But that's the only thing I can think of that would make that much glitch, unless my spacing is just really off. So what a cute layout that is. Let's see what we need to do as far as photos even. I've already got some Christmas pictures developed, so let's see what we can add to this. So I pulled some photos, and these photos are from a parade that my daughter-in-law and I went to in Branson. We decided to visit Branson back in November, and when I was looking at it, we've got a good bit of the red. This candy cane, this giant walking candy cane, I think is really cute, but there's a lot of red and white in here, which I think really lends itself to these photos. So let me look at how I might chop these photos down, lay out these photos. I could go back to my sketchbook for this and look at what they've done. And they've used 4 photos, actually a mat and a journal box here, but 4 basic things on the page. So we can kind of start with that thought process. My problem is all of my photos are vertical. So it'll be a little bit harder to do something like that. But I could do some cropping, which is a good thing. I don't have to use every one of these pictures. Obviously, I would want to use this big candy cane one because it shows off the red and white and really picks that up. This is the Silver Dollar City ornament, so I would want to use that. And I kind of like the soldier. These two, not so much necessarily. I do think I'll have to do some journaling here about the fact that we were at the parade at Silver Dollar City. So I'm moving these around, looking at this picture I want to keep whole, but these I could crop down a little. Remember, I've still got this glitch right here I need to cover up. And I think these pictures are not going to make the cut today. So let's get our personal trimmer and just trim these pictures down and see what we've got to play with here. You know, the goal in cropping is not necessarily to make your pictures as small as possible. It is to make them more aesthetically pleasing. So if you've got things that really detract from your photos, yeah, those are the kind of things you'd want to get rid of. But you're not necessarily trying to make your pictures teeny tiny. Now here, I do want this picture to fit in that allotted space. So it's going to be a lot better for me to cut some top off of that, just because I don't have much more to cut off the bottom. And I'm already seeing the layout in my head before you see it, I guess. Obviously, these pictures do not look good on this green background. We have really lost our pictures. They just sink into it. So I have pulled some white paper. Again, it's my cover sheets from some of my paper packs. And I'm going to do some matting with this white paper. Now, my pictures are different sizes because I just cut them. I didn't really measure 4x6 or 4x4 or anything like that. So, why don't we open the tape? So, I'm going to stick a couple of these on this strip I've already got here. This was a leftover strip. And actually, I'll start with the one and cut it down. You can see I used this on another border because it's got a nice little decal edge going on right there. Let's go with the taller one here because that's a good use of this leftover paper. And I don't leave very much border when I'm matting. and put tape on all 3 of these, and then we'll position those. I do need to do a little journaling about this. This 2-pager is actually going in my Christmas album, so it won't be an album of the whole trip to Missouri. So I do need to put that we attended this parade at Silver Dollar City. So a little journaling probably right down here. And when I was lining these pictures up to tape them down, one thing that I'm looking at is kind of my spacing here and here, my green from side to side. And I kind of wanted that to be the same top and bottom here. Now let me tape these 4 down, and then we'll look at what kind of embellishments we want to add. This might be a good page to do something like maybe some black letters, sticker letters, or I could cut some out of my silhouette and just do Silver Dollar City Parade. I could put that over the triangles. That would be a lot of taping. Today, I'm not sure I'm in the mood for that. So I could just add that part in my journaling and be done with it. Y'all, now I'm about to run out of regular tape. So we've got that 2-pager. And again, my spacing is, you know, it's not exact, but it's pretty close. So we've got that. Now, in looking at this design, you could also make this go across and down. You could do a lot of different things. I just seem to like opposing corners on this. So let me see what I've got for embellishments and how we want to add embellishments. So a few things I've pulled. I had these little candy canes that I think are really cute. Those were something that was available for advisors to purchase. I've got this cute little Santa and his sleigh, I don't know what you say because we don't use them much around here. I think that's a sleigh. I've got that. I have this tag that would be great for doing some journaling and for covering up my little mess over here. And then I've got a few more stickers, not a ton, but we could add something with the stickers. So I do know that I want this tag, but I'm not wild about that tag as a big square. So I'm going to use my personal trimmer and just cut that down a little bit. I'm going to leave the red around the outside edge because I like the way it shows up, but I'm just going to even it up and cut off those corners a little bit to make it look more tag-like on the outside edges. And I could use it as is, but I like that look so much better. And remember, I'm trying to cover up a problem right there. I know that I want to use this little Santa and his sleigh because we've got Santa right there. I think I'm going to stick him in there. Now he looks really happy, doesn't he? Probably happier than the one in the parade. And I'm going to add him right down here. So let me go ahead and stick my tag. I am going to do my journaling on that tag with the date and probably just Branson, Silver Dollar City Parade, something very simple. I think I'm going to slide that way and then add Santa right over here. And that's covering up my little glitchy I had down there. Now I'm going to put some foam squares on him. And right now I am down to a bunch of these little bitty foam squares because I can't open a new pack until I use up my old packs. That's just a me thing. I just can't do it. So I'm just going to have to use a bunch of little bitty foam squares on him. And this is really just to give him some dimension. And I'm covering the glitch. Now you see I'm kind of overlapping the edge of my picture. I'm overlapping this. And then I'm covering this area down here. So I'm doing a lot of overlapping instead of a lot of freestanding things. Now, because we've got some gold in here, I think it'd be fun to add these little stars that are left over. Those stars are different. I don't necessarily want to add them. And I do love this little candy cane. Not candy cane, it's a peppermint. So I think I'm going to add it over that little circle right there with the foam square. I just love to cover up those little circles. Great spot for journaling. I've got a couple little stars here. And let's see what we've got on here as far as words. We've got a Merry Christmas, Season's Greetings. That's cute. That would bring in some more green here. So what about if we add our Season's Greetings right there? And I think I'm just going to sit it right down on top of that stripe that's already there. Just kind of add to that stripe a little bit. Okay. And the only other thing I had pulled as a possibility to use are these little candy canes. These are not sticky. They are, they're popped up. They've got foam squares in between, but they're not really sticky. And you know, when I'm looking at them, I don't really like them with the colors I've got going here. So I think I'm going to stop on this unless I wanted to use something like this North Pole delivery right up there in the corner. I do like that because of the color scheme and because it brings the Santa thing down. So let's look at that over here. Yep, I think that's what we're going to do. And all along, I thought I was going to use those cute little candy canes. I'm putting about 4 little foam squares on this. We almost have 2 pages done, even with pictures. How fun is that? All right, there we go, y'all. So this was page 22 in the sketchbook. We are almost through with all these Christmas pages we're doing, and then we'll get back to everyday life and vacations. But what fun. This is a great layout, great to use scraps for lots of different pictures. Hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, happy scrapping.